So let's review the ERA posting workflow. To open the ERA screen, navigate to the Payments menu and click on ERA Posting. So when you click on that, it opens up into the ERA Posting screen. On the ERA Posting screen, at the very top, you have got a Browse option, which you could use for uploading an ERA file. Like if you have the ERA file, which is the 835 file saved on your computer, which you may have downloaded from the insurance website or from the clearinghouse, you can always browse and upload the 835 file. But with our integrated clearinghouses such as TriZetto or Relay Health, you don't really need to do that step. The system will automatically download any new ERAs that are released and available in the clearinghouse is downloaded by the system automatically. This download cycle happens every day overnight, along with the response, the clearinghouse response reports that get downloaded. The ERA files also get downloaded along with it. So when you come in and in the morning and open the system, you would actually see the ERAs already downloaded and saved on this section. However, you also have a download ERAs option, which is a manual download. When you hit the download ERAs, it does connect to the clearinghouse and looks for any new ERAs that have been made available after the download cycle, and it brings them down into the system. Once they're downloaded, you would typically see them on this top section. They will not show up on the bottom, they will show up on the top with a red texted, which means they are unsaved ERAs, and you would have to click on it and save them. But when the system downloads it every day, when it does the automatic pull of the ERAs, it will automatically save here as into this bottom section and will be available, will have a status pending. When you process the ERA, the status of the ERA will change to processed. Also, the filter here, as you can see, the status, the default status is pending, so it's actually showing you all the pending ERAs. If you want to change this and look at the processed ERAs as well, you can click on the process status or use the all status with the additional ERA save date filter to find the ERAs that have been processed previously. Now to look at the process for posting the ERA. So once the ERAs are here listed on this section, you can click to open the ERA. Now there is a checkbox here which you can manually mark the status of the ERAs as processed or any other status. Now do note, when you check this and change the status, this does not actually process the ERA. It only changes the status from pending to processed. If you have to process the ERA, you have to go through the cycle of opening the ERA and posting that ERA. And that's the step that I'm going to show you just in a moment. So typically you want to use the processed or the void status if you have already processed the ERA, or maybe you have processed the payment manually and you want to change this to a process status. Or maybe you don't want to post this ERA here. Maybe this ERA does not have any payments in here to post in the system. So you can also use this checkbox to maybe change the status to void. So you can use this checkbox to actually change the status. Now to post the ERA, you can open the remit, which you can just click on it, and that opens up the electronic remit. When the electronic remit opens up, on the top left hand side you can see all the financial information. So you can see the check number, the check date, the ERA amount can be seen on that section. The top right hand side is the payer and payee section. To process the electronic remit, the first step that you would have to do is hit the process button. When you hit the process, that's when you would see the payment number appear on this field. Until you hit the process, you will not see this payment number, and there will also be a message that will appear right at the top which would read that a payment entry has not been created for this ERA. So first, when you hit process, it creates a payment, and what payment amount that you have in this field, that's what the payment is created for. If you click on this payment number, it also takes you to that payment and shows you that payment. So for every ERA that you hit process, it's actually going to create a payment in the system. A payment is going to be created so that you can post this payment, this ERA payment. It's also going to show you how much of this ERA is matched and how much is unmatched. You will see this matched and unmatched amount appear after the process button is hit. Now you might get some unmatched amount if you don't have claims that you can post, or the claims in the ERA, if there are any claims in the ERA that you cannot post in the system. For example, these claims are not something that we can post in the system. These are not from this database, so we cannot post it. It could be you would typically get these unmatched ERAs when at the initial days when you're switching from another system, and when that happens, you might get a mix of ERA electronic remits that's for the older system. So when that you get a mix of those payments, you would obviously not be able to post those payments in Practice Suite because those claims were not submitted from Practice Suite. Now to post the so what would you typically do to post this electronic remit? So we'll scroll back up onto the top. Now the matched amount is only a $719.46, but the actual payment amount is for $1,342.36, which includes the $622.90, which cannot be matched, or which is not from the system. So to post this ERA, firstly we would change the matched amount, or change the payment amount to the matched amount, because this amount, even if we post this ERA, it would still have the $622.90 unmatched or unapplied, and that will remain unapplied in the system. So firstly, let's go and change this amount because we can only apply this amount. So we're going to change this to $719.46. Next, we're going to hit process, and that's when it updates the payment. So this payment amount would change from the original amount of $1,342.36 to the $719.46. So you can see the total amount has now changed to $719.46 on that payment. You want to keep the actual check amount the same, just leave that as what was the original amount. You would leave that as the $1,342.36. That's just for reference. When you are looking at the payment, you can see this was the actual check amount. In addition to entering or changing this amount, or if you want to add any comments or a particular batch number or a reference number, you can also enter it just as you do for the manual payment entry part. You can also do the same here too, and these will also get added to this payment. Next, let's look at the ERA information. So you can see there is a claim information. It shows the date of service, the allowed, paid. It'll also show you the claim status code, whether it was processed as primary or whether it was denied. So if there's any denial, it'll have a denial, or if it was processed as secondary, it'll have the claim status code as processed as secondary. Also, if you hover over this, it'll show you what the adjustment reason is, or the adjustment codes, and the explanation. To the right, you can also see what the current status of this claim line is. So these are the current statuses for these claim lines. If you want to open up the chart screen, you can also hit the CM button to open the chart screen. Also, if you would like to export this entire ERA into an Excel format, there is an Excel option right here which would export the ERA into an Excel. Now in this list, all these claims have checks on it. Now if there's any claim that you want to not check, you can uncheck that claim so that it doesn't come up for posting in the ERA posting screen. Now if you would like to take a print of this ERA, like in an EOB format, you can hit the print at the top, which will then export that into a PDF, which is like an EOB format. So you can see that it exports that into an EOB format. Now to post the ERA, we are going to hit the proceed to post option. So we can hit the proceed to post, and that will open up into the ERA posting screen. So you can see that it brought up to the ERA posting screen. The ERA posting screen is very similar to the manual posting screen. The only thing here is that all the amounts are already filled in. The next action is already selected, and if there are any denials, the denials will automatically be added. At the bottom, you can also see the grand total of what's going to be posted. At the very top, you also have a summary here which tells you how much amount is going to be applied now, how much is previously applied. So let's say if you partially posted this ERA and left it unposted, and then you're coming back to post it again, or continue the posting, it'll show you previously how much you posted and now how much will be posted. So since we're doing this the first time and we had not kept this partially posted, and we're posting the entire amount on the ERA, it shows the entire $719.50 is going to be posted now. Now let's say if something is going to be left unapplied after posting, then it would show here an unapplied amount that's going to be left after the posting is done. Now you can also see some lines are highlighted. These lines are highlighted, and you can see the explanation for these highlights on this section here at the top. So it shows a legend for that. Here this line is highlighted because it does not have either a payment or an adjustment on the line. So when the charge equals balance amount, it has that line highlighted. Sometimes you would also see that line highlighted when you get a denial. If you get a secondary remit before when you post the primary, such lines where the secondary is being posted before the primary will also be highlighted, and you would see it with that color. Similarly, if the entire charge is being adjusted off, such lines will also highlight with that color. If there was a previously posted line which is already in closed status, and if you pull that line onto this ERA posting screen, generally they will not pull into the ERA posting screen, but there is a checkbox on the previous screen which is to include the closed lines, and if you check that box, then it will also show those closed lines on this ERA posting screen. So when such lines do appear, those lines will also be highlighted as in the legend. If you click on the remit advice at the top left hand side, it also shows you the previous screen, which is the remit screen that we saw. If you want to look at it from here, you can click on that and it kind of shows you in the same format that we saw on the front screen. Also to the right of the ERA, there is a remarks. If you click on it, if there is any denials that have been posted, you would actually see the denial code that is going to be selected, and there'll be a checkbox here to check any additional denials, or if you want to use another denial, if there are multiple denial codes and you want to use a different denial, you can check the box here, open up the pay or remark screen, and check the denial that you want to actually post to the line. So once you have reviewed the lines, you can at the bottom hit the post option, and that will post the ERA. Now there's also a checkbox at the bottom which is show posting details report. So when the ERA gets posted, there's automatically a posting details report that will generate on the screen. So that was the process of ERA posting. Let me just recap once again. I'm going to close out of the ERA screen, and let's just go back and look at it one more time. You will click on the ERA to open it up. The first step is to hit the process option, which will then create a payment. Of course, if you want to make any changes on the accounting date or any other fields here, you can do that before you hit the process. So this will create the payment, show the payment number. You can also click on the payment number if you want to view the payment information. Now, if the payment amount is greater than the matched amount, that typically means that there are some unmatched amounts here, and the unmatched amounts will always be red highlighted. So when there is unmatched amounts, that typically means that those lines cannot be posted in the system. So you want to change the payment amount to whatever is the matched amount and hit process, and then proceed to post that ERA. So we'll hit proceed to post, bring up the ERA posting screen. once you're on the ERA posting screen, you can review or make any changes on this screen. So the other thing about the ERA posting screen is that if you want to make any overrides, you can make all those overrides. So let's say if the next action is bill to patient, but if you want to override it and set it to rebill or to another status, you can do that. Or if you want to change the amounts here or the adjustment reason, you can also make those changes. So you can typically do any overrides that you see on these fields on the ERA posting screen. So once you have made the overrides, reviewed the lines, you can hit the post to have that ERA posted. So I'll hit the post button here and that ERA gets posted, and you can see that it shows or generates a PDF which will show me where all those payments were applied. This is the posting details report typically that it opens. This report can also be accessed from under the payments menu. There is the posting details report. You can access this report anytime later on. You can go to the report, or on the report central also you have this report, which is I6 is a report number. It's the same report that you have under the payments menu too. So that was how you would post the ERAs.